Well, first up on the show, across the world, governments are struggling to contain the outbreak of coronavirus. Let's start with the latest coming in from South Korea. Well, South Korea has reported 96 cases over the last 24 hours. This is the fourth consecutive day that South Korea has reported a dip in daily figures, and sports events and K-pop concerts, have been cancelled in the country. But the reason for South Korea's low fatality rate is the pattern of infections. Most of the patients belong to the Shincheonji Church group, whose members are predominantly young women, and hopefully the virus has been contained to this group. And well, we'll be getting you the latest from the rest of the world in just a bit, but let's go across to Bruce Harrison, who joins us now live from Seoul for the latest on what's happening in South Korea. And Bruce, what are the numbers looking like today, and what is the government doing?
Well, as you mentioned, yes, we're seeing several consecutive days now where the number of total cases has fallen. Last Thursday, there was more than 500 cases confirmed. Today, that number has fallen to just more than 200. So there's cautious optimism here that they're actually bringing the situation under control. And the government has been attempting to do that, it says, by transparency and widespread national testing for the coronavirus. Overall, there's still more than 7,000 confirmed cases. It's one of the highest outbreaks beyond China. And people in this city, Seoul, as well as the hard-hit areas like Daegu and North Gyeongsang province in the southeast, are still very cautious on a day-to-day basis, where they go, who they interact with. But like I said, cautious optimism seeing these daily numbers fall.
Right, absolutely. And Bruce, of course, now North Korea has been able to contain, the virus, and also a lot of foreigners in North Korea have been put under quarantine. Do we know a little bit more about what's happening in neighboring North Korea?
We know very little about the coronavirus situation in North Korea, whether there's a large number of cases or there's just a handful confirmed. North Korea isn't releasing that kind of information. We do know that when the outbreak really started to take off in China, North Korea quickly closed its borders, and there's obviously no border traffic from South Korea into the north right now. When it comes to those quarantines, we have heard that some of those diplomats and their staffs at embassies in North Korea have finally the quarantine has been lifted for them. A lot of them were sharing their emotions on social media, Twitter, saying how much of a relief it was that this 30-day period is over. They said it was quite grim and depressing when they learned they were going to be quarantined, initially without any end date for that process.
Right, absolutely, Bruce. Thanks very much indeed for joining us for the latest on what's happening in South Korea and what we know as of now about what's happening in North Korea as well. Well, as we said, in neighboring North Korea, foreign diplomats are being evacuated by their respective governments, and Pyongyang has decided to isolate foreign nationals for close to a month. These restrictions were lifted only last week. Close to 60 diplomats will reportedly be evacuated from North Korea. Now, in Japan, the biggest casualty seems to be the economy. Japan is bracing for a 1.8% contraction in its GDP, raising fears of a possible recession. The Nikkei shed close to 5% of its value in opening trade today as well. Now, from Japan to Saudi Arabia, and where travel bans are being expanded, the kingdom has banned travel to and from 9 countries, including the UAE, Bahrain, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Italy, and South Korea. The decision comes at a time when the kingdom has reported 4 additional cases, bringing the total to 15. In the same neighborhood, Qatar has taken a similar decision. Qatar has banned entry for visitors from 14 countries, including China, South Korea, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Syria. Qatar has 15 cases of the virus so far. In Pakistan, 1 more positive case has been identified in Karachi. This is the 7th case in the country. Out of the 7 patients, 1 has recovered and has even been discharged. Authorities say another patient is close to full recovery. In Africa, Egypt has confirmed its first fatality from the virus. The patient has been identified as a German national who was visiting the country. Now, in the United Kingdom, a 3rd fatality has been reported. The patient was in his 60s and reportedly had an underlying health condition. So far, the UK has reported 273 cases of the infection.